Hi folks, it's John from lastchanceautorestore.com. I'd like to share with you another update. This is the Factory 5 Racing Type 65 Coupe. So this is a tribute car to the Shelby Daytona. In an earlier video, it was on the hoist and we were talking about the body work and the metal work that we were doing in the powder coating. So there's been lots of progress since then. And now you can see the stance of this car, and there's always stages of a build that kind of excites me and excites the guys. And when you see the stance, the muscular stance of these cars on its wheels, on the ground, and then with the progress of the body, you really see the car taking shape. So we have some issues that we kind of worked out and a lot of detailed stuff I'd like to share with you. So we talked earlier, and I don't want to bore people too much about the body. So more progress on the body smoothing. So if you recall in earlier videos, we wanted to make sure that we treated all of the areas correctly before we applied the body filler. It doesn't look like much, but it's a lot of hand sanding. We don't use air tools, it's all by hand, blocking it all out to get the body closer. So now you can see the front nose looks a lot cleaner shape than it did before. We just did a little bit of a sample to kind of tease our customer who lives far away. That gray that you see on that side, I had a little bit of high build gray primer left in my gun when we were priming some other pieces. So I masked off an area and just laid a little bit of high build primer. So those of you that are watching this build, it's very important that all of the body smoother or fillers are compatible with all of the products that are applied and with the resins and the fiberglass. So that's a high-end PPG primer. It's a two-part primer and it's referred to as a high build. So we just sprayed a little bit on there just to give you an idea, because you need to, which we'll do later, all of the areas that have the body smoother on will receive that gray high build primer. We'll work all of those areas to get it closer, and then later on we'll prime the whole car. So all of this red will all be primed, and we'll take it to 600 grit paper. So I don't want to bore you too much with that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to open up the hood and show you there's lots of stuff that's taken place since the last video, and there's lots of people asking lots of questions, which I encourage. So there's a few things I'd like to point out. So I think the camera person can show. So the underside of this hood, my head's in the way. How about I turn this way? It might be better. So some of the things we don't like, and some guys say, wow, you're a nitpicker. But I think it's important in certain areas. So the hood opening of this car, if you're watching the earlier videos, the original location of the opening, and I can't remember, but it was roughly about there. And we had to modify and trim, because what we wanted to do is we're thinking of our client going to car shows and also maintenance or working on the car. We wanted to have it in its maximum location. One thing that we noticed that I didn't like, and it's these shocks, which are a nice high quality shock where they attach to the hood. What I don't like, or did not like, is the lack of thickness that they have on the inner pieces. So this is almost like a guitar string kind of thing, in my opinion. There's not a lot of strength there, and you can see I'm not using a lot of force with my thumb, and there's a lot of flex on that fiberglass, and you need to bolt this shock on both sides to this area. So you'll notice here now the color is different and it's considerably thicker. So we've laid 5 layers of reinforced fiberglass with a high-end resin that they use in speedboats. So there's different calibers or qualities of fiberglass and resins. So this is all part of the dry fitting process. So what will happen later is we'll unbolt this. We're going to take the hood off. We're going to refinish the underside and paint everything black. You're not really going to notice this, but what we did is we had to reinforce this section and the other section on the other side. So when we walk around the other side, I'll share with you. So now it's much stronger, and you can see I can use more force. I can't move that at all. It is extremely strong. And that to me is really important, because relying on this thin little bit for this shock to me makes no sense. So we reconstructed that, and I think it looks much nicer. This box that we were talking about before, so it wasn't tall enough, so when the hood was closed there was a big gap between. So now it's taller. So this is a thicker aluminum, and we've powder coated it, and now it's installed. A few things that, without boring you too much, the radiator was not removable in the original design. It is with our design. So later on, in terms of maintenance, if the customer needs to have anything done with the radiator, whether it's here at our shop or any other shop, the radiator is now removable. And now we have a lot more of the aluminum pieces installed. So now you can see these were bare aluminum. So if you can picture this little box here, so we're on the driver's side, that's the original aluminum, and then these box pieces, a lot of these we remade. Earlier video I mentioned there's no access holes in certain areas, and this is important because our master cylinder and steering, you can have access through this top panel. So you can see we have these stainless steel Phillips head bolts. We've got threaded inserts installed in the frame, so these can just unscrew. This whole panel is removable, and you have access to the master cylinder. You can see the side panels, we went ahead and we've treated the metal and we powder coated them. So it's just, to me, it's a cleaner look. The other thing that I'd like, it's really dusty, which I apologize. The other thing I'd like to point out is another just small attention to detail. So this panel also has removable hardware in it. This is a plate that fills in or covers the back side of the hinges for the doors. Now, at some point in time, you're going to need, or the client's going to need, to make minor adjustments to the doors. The instructions with Factory 5 state just drill holes, pop rivet, and it closes that in. That's another access point that I think is important. So now we can remove that. There's just some hardware there. You can remove that panel and you have full access to the hinges, make whatever adjustments you want. If you have to take the door off, once again, it's very, very simple to do. So we've got that on both sides. So something that, so we've done lots of powder coating, and if the camera person can come to this direction, so our inner wheel well, if you recall in the earlier video, this was all wide open before. We now took all of the aluminum pieces, we modified them for a tighter fit and finish, and then you can see obviously we have, once again, these are removable. So we've got it threaded inserts here, so if you ever have to get access to the exhaust, this panel's removable, and also this one when it comes to servicing upper or lower rad hoses. So we've got threaded inserts and all stainless hardware. So these two inner panels are removable. They're all powder coated, and in my opinion look much, much cleaner. So when you're looking at, if you ignore this ugly panel here for now, if you look at this whole area from the side, instead of having the bare aluminum, you now have it all powder coated and stainless hardware, and to me, I think that's a much cleaner look. When we're right in this area, the other thing I'd like to share, and we should have done another video on it, there was a lot of concerns with these side pipes and the headers. So this is a small block engine that our client purchased. It's a Blue Point, and it's a 347. It's a Tramac manual transmission, and the original design that was supplied by Factory 5, it gave you BBK headers, and then it had a fastening point, and it had side pipes. And the side pipes were mild steel. They were the dual side pipe, and had the tailpipe coming out the sides. However, they weren't as nice as these. These are a polished stainless look to them. The circumference of the tubes are a hair bit smaller than the other ones, and the quality looks to be a much better quality than what originally came. Now, the nice people at Factory 5 Racing provided us with these upgraded ones, or newer style. So what we found after many hours of frustration with our client trying to make the original headers and pipes work, they did not fit properly. So there wasn't enough room in this front section. It didn't turn properly, and when you tried to install the side pipes, they were on a wrong angle. So there was nothing right on that first generation or first side pipe header option. So it took a few phone calls and back and forth, but it worked out all right now. So what we've done is we replaced the headers with these upgraded headers, better fittings here in the front. We have more clearance at the box, more clearance coming out on the rocker panel, and these are nice and straight. We had to modify the brackets, so where they're welded from whoever builds them for Factory 5 didn't have them in the correct location. So we modified the brackets, made our own as fastening points for the body. So in my opinion, this looks quite smart now. I think our customer has a vision. This car is going to be blue with white stripes and white racing numbers, and I think we're probably going to powder coat these pipes white to match the original look of the Daytona car. So when we come around the other side, so I don't want to have this too long-winded of a video, but when we come on this other side, you can see how nice this looks too. So we installed the wiper motor and the wiper pivots in an earlier video. We didn't have any of that done yet, so that's been installed. So we've got the 2-speed low and high wipers, and they work as they should. And then if we kind of take a peek in here, so you can see once again there's access points or panels. So I think the camera person can pick it up. This is the kit from Factory 5. So this is our bracket for our wiper motor, and you can see just down below, hopefully it's light enough. So it has our wiper motor and all the hardware going across to attach to the 2 pivot points. There's not a lot of room in there, and it's really tricky. But what we wanted to do is once again have access to our heater core, because the heater core is in this box. It is absolutely impossible to have access to the heater core from inside the car with the heater box. So if you have to service anything, you're certainly not going to rip that whole interior apart to try and get through, and the box is sealed from the inside. So what we did here, and we talked about it in an earlier video, we now have, you can see where we have the smaller screws here. So we have access to the side panel for anything for our lines for air conditioning, because we got the AC in and out. And you can see these are powder coated and stainless hardware, and we have the nice inserts. And same thing with this top plate. So this top circulation pump, it's removable because we have, once again, we've got inserts in there. We've powder coated the bracket and the top piece. So you can easily service this now. You can just unhook this. You can take these screws out. This plate will come up. There's just enough room to clear the bottom of the wiper motor. So for serviceability, and we're talking later on obviously, but at some point something's going to go wrong with that heater core, and you want to have access to that. And then same thing as the other side, you can see this splash shield now is powder coated and installed. So we really like the look of that inner piece. And once again, so we part of the air conditioning we relocated, and we also relocated the horns. They just weren't in the right locations based on their instructions. And then you'll see here on this side with the exhaust pipe, we now have a lot more room with this style of header. The other style, this pipe was literally right up against this bottom part of the box. So now they line up a lot better than they did before. We're going to make a piece out of aluminum to fit in here. They refer to this as the pontoon section of this coupe, and I don't like this open look, and I don't like the it's not very rigid in here. So we're going to make something shortly that's going to fit in this top to fasten and close this in, just so it's going to have a cleaner look. Later on, what we're going to do is we're going to treat this aluminum. I have a product similar to powder coating that we can apply, so then all of this exposed aluminum that you see, we're going to mask everything, and we'll do a very careful job. So all of the box and the components on the firewall will all be this similar texture black look. So everything will match, because right now it doesn't look nice, in my opinion, having this bare aluminum and then some powder coated items. So that'll be coming up in the next video or two. So basically, when we went ahead and we installed the new headers and the new side pipes, we ran into a challenge. So those of you that are either thinking about building one of these cars yourself or are in the process of building one, there's something you have to be careful of. In the instructions that come with Factory 5, when they talk about the driveline, so you're doing a small block 302 or the 347, and you install the manual transmission, the Tramac, the back transmission mount, there's a certain way that it's supposed to go in. And our client placed it the other way, or upside down if you will, and the reason why he did that is because there wasn't clearance with one of the reinforcement parts. There's a 1-inch piece of square tubing that's welded in the chassis on an angle, and it's in the center of the transmission tunnel, and it impedes in the transmission. So you wouldn't have second gear or fourth gear. So when our client was doing the chassis part of the assembly, he looked at the transmission plate and said, well, the instruction manual says it goes in this way, but if I do it this way, I don't have second or fourth gear because we have a piece in the way. So just as a tip, it makes the engine, transmission, and drive line or drive shaft crooked. And then it affects the pipes on how they come out. So you'll have one side's going to look 2 inches shorter than the other. So it's something that is going to be a concern for people that go ahead and install that if you're doing this driveline combination. A small block, whether it's a 302 or 347, when you do a Tramac, you're going to have one piece of 1-inch square tubing that's going to be in the way. So we carefully made an access panel with the threaded inserts, so the inspection cover basically will come off and you have access to work on that shifter or shifter plate or bushings if you need to. But what we did when we were in there is we removed that piece that was in the way of the transmission. So we've protected that with anti-rust paint. We were very careful when we removed it, so you don't even know we were in there. And then we've boxed everything back in again, so we've got the strength, everything is fine. And then what we did is we put the plate in the way it's supposed to go, and our drive line is perfectly straight. So now the engine, the transmission, and the drive shaft run true and perfect, which then in turn makes these side pipes look nice, and the distance between the body and the pipes where they come out on the tailpipes line up perfectly. So just a little bit of caution for those of you who are thinking about doing that. That might be a concern you're going to run into in the future. So while we're coming down the passenger side, let's look at the back. I don't want to bore you too much longer. So we were talking about the bodywork before, but now you can see with it's on its wheels, the style of this car I think is quite attractive. So earlier video we talked about the rear hatch and glass, how we built in this rear wing and spoiler. There's still some smoother work that we're going to need to do, but it's a nice transition. It's going to look like it's a part of the body. But we really like this body style. This is quite attractive. And as you come around the back, I think there's enough room. It's kind of crowded for a camera person. But we like the selection of wheels and tires. The back end, we see we've got it on a dolly. We just needed to kind of roll it around here at the shop. So the stance is quite smart. The body's coming along quite nice. And the fit and finish, we've got the doors just the way we like them in terms of the gaps of all the doors. So these are all really nice. There's still some sanding to do, but they line up perfectly. When you run your hand across, everywhere across the body, they fit really, really nice now. Same thing with the back glass. There's rubber weather strip that's going to go in there, but you can see the lines are perfect. We modified that in earlier videos we shared with you. We had to change quite a bit to have this glass fit correctly, and there's still some minor adjusting we can do after the weather strip goes on. So overall, the stance is really nice, I think. I really like this style of car. And so our next challenge is going to be doors and window frames. So just a little bit of a teaser. We're still going to be working on some body work. But our next big challenge, our client doesn't want the wide open feel of the plexiglass. So it comes with a little bit of a frame, and there's a little bit of a dome piece of plexiglass that you fasten, but there's a lot of turbulence and a lot of air that comes in. So we're going to create a door frame and a window frame We're going to have the doors, we like this clean look, we're going to have actuators open remotely. So instead of having any clutter on the side, it's going to look more like the original Shelby Daytona. It won't have any handles here, but if we have glass and a frame, you're not going to be able to reach in to pop the latch to open the door. It's going to make the car a lot safer and more secure, because obviously you'll be able to lock it up and have less fear of the car. So that's going to be our next challenge. We're going to design ourselves internally here at Last Chance Auto Restore a window frame. We're going to have it power windows. We're going to do window regulators. We're basically going to build it from scratch. And then once we have it all constructed, we'll share with you the difference of what that's going to look like. So this back little quarter glass window is going to be solid stationary. We're going to close that in, and this front section will have a window frame and it'll have a glass. And then we have a really neat idea. Instead of having a power window switch, it's going to look like a normal window winder handle, but it's on an actuator, which is power for up and down. So that's a teaser for much later. It's going to take quite a while to design that, but right now with the stance and the pipes and the upgraded headers, this is really coming along nicely. So I thank you for watching. I'm John from lastchanceautorestore.com.